Good morning, happy Friday. Welcome to the Pitch Strike Chronicles. I will test over here at Rob. Donald will be with us shortly. So we will kick off the show talking about a little transaction that happened pretty much right before showtime. And they did place Jazz on the IL on 10-day, and they recalled Vivas once again. And one thing I have to wonder is, what are the odds he actually gets some playing time during this call up? I think they're going to split the game, the time, pretty much between him and Peraza, because I think Peraza is one of those they have to really. We talked about this the other day, Rob. They got to start giving him some play time to see what he is, and not leave him in limbo as this kind of, question mark of a bench player where one thing the Yankees have done well this year is really get everybody playing time. And it seems like Peraza has gotten his, but hasn't really grabbed that wow factor where you have all the confidence when he's in a game. We feel good about him as a player, but we also need to see what Vivas is, because this isn't his first time being called up, whether it's for, the 27th man or just kind of like a spot bench player. He hasn't. I want to see what Vivas has. I think they really. They need to start putting him into these lineups, and really give him a fair shot, like they've done with multiple, with other players throughout this year, because that's one thing that the Yankees have improved on, is not letting people get too cold, and just sitting them for weeks on end. But Vivas seems to be into that moniker. How you feeling about Vivas getting yet another call up and the question mark of what they're going to do with him?
He should play. I mean, it's pretty simple. Peraza, small sample size has not been good. But then again, it's a very small sample size, so we can't sit here and say, oh, he doesn't have it. But so far, when he's been playing, he hasn't been great. Defensively, he's been outstanding. He's shown a couple of flashes here and there with the bat, but overall, the bat hasn't really been there. But there's a way to get all these guys playing time. I mean, if you think about it, Ben Rice still can't hit lefties very well. There's some other guys that aren't really consistent, so you can find playing time all across the board. It's just that you can't keep calling people up and not playing them. Yeah. The fact that Vivas has been called up now, tonight will be 7 games, but for first 6 games that he's been on the major league roster, hasn't seen the field. That's pretty ridiculous. He put up good numbers in AAA. I mean, I don't know what else he needs to do. And again, it's not like Peraza has been wowing anybody offensively. So Vivas should be playing tonight. They should give him as much playing time as possible, because it could help you out. And I've said this last year, it can really help you out with your future decision-making. If Vivas comes up, even in a short stint, and plays well, you can use him later on in the season as a possible third baseman. So I just think that they need to give it a shot. Why not? Like, what do you have to lose? That's not like your other options are really hitting. Pablo Reyes stinks. Cabrera can only really hit right-handed pitching, and Peraza hasn't really hit at all. So it's not like you really are benching anyone that's been outstanding offensively. So if Vivas doesn't play tonight, then they're just calling him up for a bench warmer spot. That's pretty ridiculous. I hope that's not the case, but this is how the Yankees operate sometimes. Hopefully I'm wrong. I would love to be wrong. I think we're going up against a righty tonight, so that should help us out. But we'll see. He should play. That's all I know.
Yeah, it's, and not only what you're going to have, as far as your depth, it's also trade value. You want teams to call you up and say, all right, this is the guy that we're really keeping an eye on. And if he gets called up to a major league, spot, gap filler, then you got to figure out what he is. It's enough of this. We're just going to have him just ride the bench. It's one, you're not doing the player any favors for his future. When you take the in-game decisions out of it, it's the long-term game, on some of these guys like Peraza. And we'll even put Reyes in there because even though he'll get his shoulder tapped to come into a game more often than we'd like, he is still a major league player. Who's very versatile. He could play like Cabrera a couple years ago, where infield, outfield substitutions, and to give a guy a day off. I try not to pick on Reyes too much because, he's not the guy that we want. So he's a guy that, really leaves a lot on the table and leaves a lot to be desired of what we want in a bench player. I think the bench players of the, coming, leading into like the 90s era, early 2000s, I think those bench players are kind of a thing of the past. These are the guys where they'll give you enough to justify having them on the roster, but they're not going to bring that wow factor of where it leaves you no doubt when they get called in. I don't want to see Vivas in that same boat. I want to have the confidence in these guys when they do get the call. And if you're not using them properly, this is what you're going to be facing. They've done this before. Most recently, it's like the Florial treatment. We're gonna rely on these guys, but we're not gonna show that we trust them. And I think the Yankees need to use these guys to show, right, we have the utmost faith in you to perform to your level. This is why you're being called up for this particular reason. But they just let these guys sit on the bench. I think it's really a disservice to these guys and the work they're putting in.
Well, the only reason they're calling people up is because they only have so many spots available on the 40-man. But this is it's not like the last time I was a paternity leave, so I guess you can somewhat justify it. The last time was before the All-Star break, so you can kind of justify it, although at least one game per series wouldn't be the worst thing to ask. But now it's a 10-day IL stint. I know it's probably retroactive, but
yeah,
he's got a good week of games that he could possibly play. And the thing about the bench players is if they were that good, they wouldn't be on the bench. It's just, no one expects bench players to be like, oh, come off the bench and be Aaron Judge, come off the bench and be even Giancarlo or something like that. No, they're on the bench for a reason, but you also don't want to have a bunch of scrubs. Like Pablo Reyes hasn't really done much of anything, but he had a good spring. So it made sense for him to make the roster. Versatility. DJ was hurt. He plays infield, outfield. He can actually supposedly hit lefties, but I just think that there really are limited options. So I think at this point, with Jazz being out for like a week, maybe if he's misses the minimum 10 days, why not play Vivas every day? See what you have. And then when Jazz comes back and Vivas is giving you a tough decision to make, then you have a tough decision to make. So I think it's a good problem to have if players are playing well. That's all I'm saying. You'd rather these guys be playing well so you have tough decisions to make because that means your system is working. And Bellinger had a great spring, but he's not Pablo Reyes. Like we're not going to compare Pablo Reyes to Cody Bellinger. Bellinger's actually has had moments where he's hit where they've used Pablo Reyes on multiple occasions now in clutch spots. He's been bad defensively. He's been bad offensively. So it's not like he's really giving the Yankees anything. But again, we're not expecting much out of Pablo Reyes. He is on the bench. He's like he's like the last guy on the bench, last man up mentality sort of thing. But I can't really attack Pablo Reyes for not being the greatest player in the world because he's just on the bench and we had injuries and we had to fill a spot somewhere. And he earned his spot by having a good spring. So I can't really be mad that he's not living up to spring training numbers because no one really does spring training for a reason. But another case to add on to it, though, is nobody else that plays the infield on this roster besides Volpe and I guess Goldschmidt, even though we're talking about kind of like shortstop, second, third base. None of them have really played great overall. Cabrera's been fine, but like I said earlier, he still can't hit left-handed pitching either. So you just need give Vivas playing time. I don't know how. It's only so many ways we can say it.
That's really the synopsis of the whole debate is just give Vivas the glove, give him the spot in the lineup, and just see what you have. because you never know, when that's good. It might motivate him to just go on a tear. And this time with Jazz on the IL, if you're using Vivas and Peraza a little more, you might spark a little more into them, and you might get that week of like really good hitting, with solid defensive play. That's really all you're asking for. No, they're not going to come in and be, a Judge, a Stanton, in one of those type of caliber plays. I mean, I think that's just completely unrealistic. But if they just give you something where you I don't want it to be where I'm dreading when they're coming up in the order. I want them to have that confidence where it's like, all right, they might not win you the game, but it's not impossible because they're loose. And that's something that's why I've been saying, and I've been giving Boone a lot of credit for, with really not letting these guys go ice cold. So, one thing that's not ice cold, as we kind of while we're waiting for Donald, is our amazing chat. Hope everybody is enjoying. I hope everybody had a good week, despite the outcome of the Orioles series. We're going to be diving into that, but do want to give everybody a shout out. What's going on? We got Studio, we got Stephen B, we got Acevedo, who got one of those gifted memberships. Acevedo, congratulations. We have Dev Finch, who was nice enough to gift those memberships. Kudos to you, my guy. We got Anne Marie hanging out with us this morning. Good morning, Anne Marie. John the Beagle Dad. We got Ken Claus hanging out with us. Lou. Jonathan regained his title and made sure to get in at 7:00 in the morning. We got FJ CT Cards. How is everybody doing? Hope you guys are all ready for a fun, relaxing weekend. As Ken decides to reclaim his title as Ken Claus, and he is gifting out a membership. So thank you again, Ken. And joining us now, we got Donald. Donald, look, first off, congratulations to your Knicks.
Thanks, man.
That was one hell of a series.
It was fun. Did anyone see Brunson's shot at the end to win it?
Yep.
That was pretty amazing, man. That was pretty poetic. Anyway.
Yeah, we were all at work. We're all tracking the game on our phones, and I think Brad is right. I want to get to the Yankees because we do have a lot to digest. But when you have playoff baseball in New York, it does kind of take the headline a little bit, especially with the series they had. But I might be having a midlife crisis because I'm following more sports now than I ever have in my life.
See, that's me and Rob rubbing off on you, man. It has to be me and Rob rubbing off on you, brother.
But no, I have been kind of keeping an eye on the Knicks. I also think that Detroit, I think that they were kind of underestimated. I thought they had a pretty good team. I think Cade Cunningham's going to be a stud. He's going to be a stud. He plays really well, but he's not Brunson yet.
Thanks to Sunil for watching the stream that me and Luca did. Knicks cast. So appreciate it, Sunil. Thanks for watching.
We were talking real quick because I want to get deeper into the series with the Orioles. We got awards coming up. We also have our monthly awards of who we have for that. We got some new topics for the monthly awards, so they stand alone. But
so Tats and Rob, tell everybody in the chat what the monthly awards is all about. And how to get excited for it, and when they should expect it, etc.
Yeah, well, the monthly awards today will come after we do the game awards for the Baltimore series. We have a prospect award. Who's the prospect we should be keeping an eye on? Who had the better start? Obviously it's still the early of the season. So who had the best April as far as in our opinions? We also have a play of the month. So which play did we think really stood above the rest and why? And there may be a surprise third award coming in. We'll leave you on a cliffhanger for that. But with Jazz on the IL, they bring up Vivas. How confident are you they're actually going to use him this time? Donald.
Talking to you, Donald.
Oh. Well, we not heard from Rob yet, so Rob, you break it down first. Man.
No, we've heard plenty from you.
Yeah, we broke that cowboy. We were waiting for you. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not seeing anything from Vivas. The Yankees don't trust him, so I'm sorry. I'm gonna hold judgment on that. But maybe we'll see him. Who knows? I think you'll probably see a little bit more Peraza for now, and and obviously they still. They've still not shown us that they're ready to trust Vivas. So as of right now, I'm just gonna wait and see. If they play him, great. If they don't, I'm not remotely surprised because they called him up on numerous occasions already, and they never once used them, not once. So why would that change all of a sudden? I don't know. But this roster is in a bit of a crunch right now. One injury to the infield, and it looks a little bit. I don't know. It was a little bit like square pegs and round holes with the infield, just one injury. So a little bit concerned about that. But, I have faith in Peraza. I love that guy. So if we see plenty of Peraza, then I ain't going to complain.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a straight platoon with those two. That's just my opinion. But I do want to I'm hoping that this time around, we actually do get to see a little more of Vivas on this call up. But yeah, because it is retro to the 30th for Jazz. So it's not as of today, it's as of the 30th he's on the IL. Okay. So just to clarify that. But we also did have a very interesting series with Baltimore. And before we jump into the awards, just a quick synopsis of the series. It was disappointing because the Yankees had all the offensive opportunities to really sweep the series. And just really, once we had the first game where they just struggled to get that big hit. The second game where they won 15-3, they couldn't get it out if they tried. I mean, they were just tearing it up. And then they went right back to their, to game one where to close it out, again, runners in scoring position, a lot of traffic on the bases, and avoiding the big hit. That's what makes series like this so frustrating because the Yankees should be able to break through in those games because even though everybody wants to shit on Carrasco, for the way that the game started the other day, to wrap the series up, the pitching really wasn't the problem. Because when you're looking at guys like Carrasco, what was the one thing we said? Just keep us in the game. And he did. He did not let the game get away from him. So if the offense is able to hold up its end of the deal, then we come away with that win because you'll be able to put runs up and hand it over to a very reliable bullpen.
Carrasco wasn't necessarily good, though. I mean, he didn't even make it past the fourth inning.
Yeah, well, we're not expecting him to match Rodon and Fried.
Well, I'm not saying that, but 3 1/3 is not enough to give praise for keeping us in the game. He got tagged. He gave 4 runs on 8 hits. He was not good. Okay, I can see if he went 5 and gave up 2 runs and we lost 2-1, then he'd be like, it wasn't Cookie's fault. But he gave up 4. He struck out 5, but didn't even go 4 innings. That's not a good start.
No. Yeah, for me, the pitching was the problem. In 2 out of the 3 games, the pitching was the problem.
The starters, the bullpen was fine. Bullpen kept us in it. I mean, Tim Hill wasn't the best he's been, but I mean, I didn't think Warren was very good, and Carrasco was rough. It makes us really miss Luis Gil and Garrett Cole.
Yeah.
And this series also made it pretty apparent that we do need Giancarlo Stanton back, despite what some fools might be saying on the internet that they should release him. If we had Stanton in this series, we probably sweep him. And that's how clutch. We need him up in those moments that we didn't have him up. We had guys like Reyes batting and Bellinger didn't come through. Not even Judge came through the other night in the first game. we had chances in multiple opportunities that you would love to have Giancarlo Stanton up because he tends to come through in those spots. We can definitely use a bat like that still, this lineup. But pitching wise, I mean, outside of Rodon, the rotation with the two starters were not good.
No,
Carrasco
I mean,
was bad.
the way I sum it up is I'm not remotely surprised. It's not just about, oh, we're facing the Orioles, we should win. You have to look at the matchup. And unfortunately, the matchup just wasn't in our favor in 2 out of the 3 games. You're sending out Will Warren. You're sending out Cookie Carrasco. Those two dudes are very, very inconsistent at very best. If I'm being very kind to them, I would say they're inconsistent. If you're being harsh, you could say they're probably below average major league starters. Very honestly, they are. So, especially if you look at the statistics, both of them are, including Will Warren. That's why we lost the series. It's just the matchup just wasn't in our favor. We do have a strikeout problem in our lineup because although offensively, I wasn't even that upset our offense. We scored 15 runs in game 1. We had in the last game we had a ton of hits and walks. I mean, geez, we had 7 hits and 4 walks off the top of my head, and that's more than enough, right? It's just we couldn't get the big hit because we strike out far too much in the biggest moments. You know what I'm saying? So Stanton obviously would certainly help in terms of coming up in clutch moments, but we do have a bit of a strikeout problem in this lineup. In the first game, we also had a ton of hits. I believe that we had something like, let me get the stats up. We had 10 hits in game 1. So again, it was just a matter of getting the big hit, which we just couldn't do. So we got plenty of hits. We got plenty of traffic on base. We just couldn't get the big hit, and mostly because we strike out far too much. That's one. And two, listen, the matchup just wasn't in our favor. And so that's why I'm not overly concerned by this series. It's kind of expected. The Orioles, although they're having a bad year, they've got good young players. They're a very inconsistent team, but I expect them to get a little better. Even though they don't have the pitching at all, they've got talent in that team. That talent is still there. It's not gone anywhere, even though they've started really poorly, like, for instance, Gunnar Henderson. But I don't think it was that easy a matchup, actually, for us. So, to be honest, I don't really care that we lost 2 out of 3. It's not that big a deal. At the end of the day, if you look at the bigger picture, where we're at, we're a couple of games above 500. We're number 1 in the East, and that's without Stanton. That's without 3/5 of a working rotation. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean that, and then also a closer which had to be demoted. You consider all those issues, and you say, you know what, I take that. Yeah, you lost 2 out of 3. Matchup wasn't in our favor. The next one might be dust it off. We're heading into May. I honestly don't think it was a bad series for the Yankees.
Yeah, I think what really got, maybe I'm giving them pitching more of a pass because of how bad their pitching is. With 30 teams, they're 28th in team ERA. They're that bad. They are really at the bottom of the barrel as far as, I think the Orioles are, I think it's 7 ERA for the team, which is not something you're looking for. But, and Carrasco and Warren, I'm more concerned about than Carrasco. Carrasco's here just until we get a healthy starter back. That's my opinion. But it's Warren that I'm worried about. Because he's the one that he was supposed to have the next Schmidt. I'm not going to, I think that's the fairest comparison of what we're expecting from him. He's going to put up some runs, but at least get to the 5th inning. But Warren's kind of been a little disappointing, but it's still early in his career, so I don't want to tear him up.
They're perfect examples of why we can't get too caught up in spring stats, something that we've talked about all month, basically. How many players we just talked about earlier with Reyes, had a great spring, hasn't translated. Bellinger had a great spring, hasn't translated completely. he's been up and down. Warren was untouchable until his last like 2 outings, and now he's been very at best, if you're being kind, like what you're saying, Donald. Like, if you want to be nice, you can say he's below average. I think he's been worse than that. Carrasco, I don't know. He hasn't been good. Good morning, Dad. We need Heel. We need Cole. I don't even want to say we need Voldemort. I would give Alan Winans a shot in the rotation. Why not? It's not like Carrasco's been good that you can be like, keep him here for the rest of the season or anything. So, I mean, you really have nothing to lose by if you have to option Warren. I still think his ceiling is a bottom of the rotation guy anyway, and he's more of like a multi-inning reliever, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just haven't seen enough from him to be like, that guy's going to be a staple in the rotation. I know it's still early, a lot can change, but so far we're kind of losing some games because of this rotation. I mean, you got 2 guys out of your 5. I don't want to put too much on Schmidt because 2 of his 3 outings have been fine, but Warren and Carrasco both have ERAs in the 5s right now, and we're a full month in. It's like we're kind of losing games because of them, and that's usually a recipe for disaster. Rodon and Fried have done all as much.
They've done all the lifting.
Yeah, they've been fantastic, and Schmidt just got back. $18 million waste is still on the IL. Who knows when he comes back? And then you got 2 other guys that aren't very good and aren't very reliable. So I think there's more expectations for Warren because, like you said, he's younger. He's got plenty of time ahead of him, where Carrasco's like 37, 38, and he's coming off of a really bad last couple of years where he's been healthy, he's been hurt, he's been bad, he's been okay. Like, he hasn't really been good for quite some time. So to expect him, it's kind of like with Reyes, to expect him to do much more than what he's done, you're putting yourself in a bad spot. Even in our preseason like predictions, we were like, probably like a high 4, mid to high 4 ERA, and that'll be fine. He's been worse than that, and we're only a month in, but you kind of have to think about making a decision sooner or later with this rotation because Heel ain't coming back for another couple of months at best. No. We know we're not getting Cole back, and unless they pull the trigger on a trade earlier than expected, you might want to see if a guy like Alan Winans or even I think Sunil said it, Hedrick, he was pitching really well, and he can give you innings. Maybe you try stretching him out, like he said. So that was actually a good suggestion there by Sunil. It can't be worse than what we're getting so far from those 2 guys.
For me, I don't see Warren as a major league starter. I just don't see it. I mean, if you look at the traffic that he's put on, he's only pitched 24 innings, okay? He's given up 15 earned runs, 3 home runs, and 12 walks and 22 hits. So he's put on 34 base runners. 34 base runners, not including the 3 home runs. That is a lot, man. That is a lot in just 24 innings. So his ERA is a bloated almost 6. He throws too many pitches. I think he's better as a middle reliever. I just don't see – I don't think he's a particularly good starter. But I know it's early. Maybe he needs a couple of years. I don't think it's going to happen with the Yankees. I just don't see it. I think he's got a decent changeup. I think he's got some decent pitches, but he throws too many. And I don't think he knows which one to throw at what situation. That is a lot of base runners, far too much traffic. And to be fair, I think if our defense wasn't as good as it has been this year, I think his ERA would be in the 10s. It would be a lot worse considering the traffic that he's put on. He's put a hell of a lot of pressure on our defense, man. So for me, I don't see it with him. He'll have a couple of starts where you're like, oh, there's something here. But in general, he just puts too much traffic on. I think he's a middle reliever, and it's going to take a little bit of time with him. I don't think he's good. Cookie Carrasco is cooked. I don't think there's much more that needs to break down with Cookie Carrasco. Cookie's cooked. So for me, I'm just looking at the bigger picture, and I'm saying, considering we have 2 pretty terrible starters, I was being kind of kind at the start. Didn't want to be overly negative, but let's be honest, 2 pretty terrible starters out of 5. And I'm thinking, heck, our closer or star closers pitching to a 10 ERA. I'm in fact, we don't have Stanton. I'm looking at this going, hey, we're number 1 in the East with all these problems. And if we didn't have a closer that was determined to blow every single outing, and we didn't have this crazy strikeout problem that we have, where we strike out like dozens of times a game. The Yankees could have a crazy record. We could have a better record than the Dodgers this year. But I'm not going to say it's because of how good we are. I think it's mostly to do with the fact how bad the American League is. But you can only beat what's in front of you. So I'm going to look at it more positively, the fact that with all those problems, we've still had 2 historic games offensively, which you're going to do well to find ever again.
Never been done.
Never been done. So you'll struggle to see it again. So that's with some of our problems. So I'm looking at it positively. We're first in the East. I'm not quite sure how we managed it with all the problems that we've had to do, and that's why I think Aaron Boone deserves a lot of credit. So I think we should be fairly optimistic.
Yeah, I think with like you said, with the way things panned out, to start the season, where we had like the utmost confidence, in the all season starting spring training, we were seeing a lot. We were like, pretty much, the AL East is, excuse me, not so much a cakewalk, but everything was going in favor of the Yankees' way. And the fact that we are still in first place, despite all the shortcomings from some guys, just shows that this team, there's something different this year, and why they're able to kind of pick each other up, even despite the outcome of the game, they don't go down quietly. We'll put up, it runs in the the 8th, may scratch a run out in the 9th, where we saw last year and it's a little bit the year before. After the 7th inning, it was like the offense just went to, they took the game off. We were really struggling to get those late inning hits to make it a game again, where we're seeing a little bit more of that this year. And so it does give me a little more hope that this is all going to kind of come together.
Yeah, put it this way. If Devin Williams has 2 extra saves in his last 2 outings, we have
Big
20
difference.
wins. That's tops in the American League. If we have Garrett Cole, not even both Heel and Cole, if we just have one of those 2, we're probably in better shape. We have Giancarlo Stanton, we probably sweep this series, right? Like, that's how things have gone differently. If Rodon doesn't make one bad pitch to Jung-Hoo Lee, we probably win that series against San Francisco. Like, There's things to be positive. And like you said, like the fact that we could potentially be in that spot, we're not trying to make excuses for them.
Yep.
We're not there. We could be. That's why you kind of have to look at it and be like, all right, it could have been a lot worse considering what we went into the month with.
All right.
And thank God for Aaron Judge. That's all I'm going to say.
Yep.
Thank God for him. If we didn't have him, we probably would be in last place and looking up and kaput. And we'd be talking about, well, what do we expect to come?
Talk about next year.
Yeah, we'll be talking about next year. But thank God for Aaron Judge. Thank God for Paul Goldschmidt, because those 2 have really carried this offense. And Ben Rice, of course, Grisham. But, like, without Judge, who knows where we'd be? Well, I know where we'd be, last place.
Yep. Well, we are halfway through the show, so let's not take any more time, and let's just get to Donald's Awards, because there's going to be a lot of discussions in these. And like we said, we also have the monthly awards debuting with us at this time. So let's go, Donald.
All right, guys. All right. That's smooth, like smooth jazz. Everybody can hit the like button for us, please. It'll help the algorithm do all the good stuff. Like and subscribe. So to Sierra, so to CT, Sneal, everybody in the chat. I assume that Tats has done a roll call.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yep.
Right, let's get stuck into this thing then. Let's go with the MVP. I'm pretty sure it's unanimous. It has to be Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
One of the most historic series that I've come across. The only negative to the fact that we lost 2 out of 3 and the matchup wasn't in our favor is the fact we didn't take advantage of the fact that Aaron Judge had one of the most historic series that you're going to come across, man. He was absolutely insane. He was insane. He did it all by himself. The numbers that he's putting up is not even normal. He's batting well over 400, and we're into May. That doesn't happen. This is not normal. This man is a freak in all the good ways. So, I mean, if you're the positive is that we've got it. The negative is that it's one of the greatest offensive starts of the season, and we're only a couple of games above 500. So, there's two ways you can look at it. You know what I'm saying? But video game numbers and CT cards, absolutely. He's the MVP. It's unanimous. And is there anyone going to argue with me?
No.
Nope.
When you get compared to 2001 Barry Bonds, there's no.
You're doing something right.
Yeah.
It's not normal, man. So let's get to the low-key MVP where there's a bit more of a discussion. I think it's probably Goldschmidt, but I mean, I think it's Goldschmidt, but it could be Ben Rice. But I'm going to ask Rubinho.
I got Volpe because he did it with the bat and the glove. He was saving Rodon a few times. As good as Rodon was, Volpe's glove over at shortstop in that game, he was phenomenal. So I want to give him a shout out because, again, we got to ride the hot streak when we can. Who knows how long this is going to last for? So he came through with the bat. He came through with the glove. He's my low-key MVP.
But you also had a costly throwing error in the third game, right?
He did, but without his glove, Rodon probably gives up a few runs in that game. He doesn't have as strong of a start.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty, Uncle T.
Yeah, low key, I had Goldschmidt. I think if it wasn't for Judge's numbers, we'd have he'd be taking the MVPs left and right because it seems like Judge and Goldschmidt are just kind of sharing the spotlight with us anyway on who's just been the most reliable Yankee when it comes to in play. But yeah, I had Goldschmidt for low key.
Yeah, and further to that, yeah, Goldschmidt had a home run, a couple of RBIs, and in the 15-3 game, he had a pretty decent game as well. 2 RBIs, 2 hits. He had a great series. But there was a lot of good candidates. Ben Rice was crazy. So I'm actually, you know what? I'm going to change my own rules and I'm going to make it a double. I think it's Ben Rice and Goldschmidt. It's breaking my own rules, but it's hard to separate the two of them. Ben Rice had a multiple home run game. Everything he touched in that game, that 15-3 game, it looked like it was going out of the yard. He was fantastic. And Paul Goldschmidt just continues to be the star man other than Aaron Judge in this lineup. So I'm going to go with the double trouble. Let's have a look and see what the chat has got to say. We've got a couple of people saying Rice, baby. I assume that means that they're going to go with Rice. CT says low key for sure is Goldie. Doron says Goldschmidt is one of the best free agent signings was ever made. You're right. Don't think there's too much of a doubt about that. FJ, right? Volpe is second on the team in RBIs. That is crazy. That is a crazy stat. So that goes to Rob's point. But I think there's more votes in favor of Goldschmidt. So we're going to go with Goldschmidt there for that. Let's go with the Clutch Awards. I'm actually going to go a little bit different with the Clutch Award. My Clutch Award is someone who was slightly unheralded coming out of spring. And my Clutch Award is someone who's been saving his bullpen on many occasions, and that's Fernando Cruz.
Oh, good one.
But when considering how bad Carrasco was, and we were in a lot of trouble in that game, and the game was about to get seriously away from us, Cruz walks in and puts up 4 strikeouts in 1 2/3 innings. Fernando Cruz is kind of clutch in that respect. He's coming in some tough spots, and he's just throwing some of the most disgusting splitters you're ever going to see. So my Clutch Award is actually Fernando Cruz. Rob?
We're kind of on the same wavelength. I went with Yarborough because he came in 3 innings of relief for Warren when Warren looked like crap, and he kept us in that game. So shout out to those two out of the bullpen, but Yarborough really saved us from potentially getting wiped out in that game. So
Yeah, he pitched a ton of innings in that.
Yeah, he ate some innings and he did his job. He did his job, kept us in there, and we had a chance multiple times late in that game to come back, just couldn't get the big hit. But Yarborough came through for us.
T.
This is where I'm on the same wavelength as Rob as far as this player. My clutch award, I went with Volpe for the Rodon start. I think that it's a very different look of the game. Not, the offense was going to do what it did, but for Rodon's benefit, a lot of that does get credited to Volpe. He had a phenomenal game too in the series. Defensive plays. I mean, when you get your starter, just turn around and go, "Wow, you did something right." So, we see them all the time with the high clap and mitt, for an outfield play. But Rodon was just, and we all were absolutely shocked he made that play. I thought that was a big moment for Rodon's numbers. And so I gave the clutch award to Volpe.
That's fair. John agrees with you. Elliot says Trent Grisham. There's actually a couple of votes for Mr. Barros goes for Grisham as well. Sunil agrees with me and Rob regarding Yarbrough and Cruz. So, that's why this chat is so locked in, man, because their takes are all
There's
pretty
no wrong
far.
answer for it.
Yeah, they're all in the kind of similar wavelength as ourselves. Anna says Goldie or Grisham. So it looks like Grisham is going to take the award. And listen, man, I ain't going to argue with my boy Grish.
Nope.
Grish, for me, center fielder, baby. He's my starting center fielder. And I ain't having anything other than that. That man is a machine right now. Love me some Grish. But it looks like there's some tons of people, but at the moment it looks like the clutch is going to Grish. Let's go with the pitching award. Listen, if it's anyone other than Rodon who pitched a perfect game through up to almost 6 innings, then y'all need to get your head checked. Rodon was absolutely ridiculous. It looked like he was going to pitch a no-hitter. And you guys are right to credit Volpe because he made 2 of the most sensational plays up the middle of shortstop. Rodon was in beast mode, as Ann says, and so was Volpe to keep to protect the no-hitter at one point. I actually genuinely thought he was going to do it. There was a period there once when Volpe made that insane play. I thought, this is actually going to happen. Unfortunately, it looked like he got a little bit tired once we got into the 7th inning. But tell you what, man, Rodon was absolutely amazing. His slider was cooking. He's got this authority and moxie on the mound this year that I've not seen as a Yankee. I've seen it, obviously, in the past when he was a White Sox or a Giant, but we're seeing it now. And he just looks amazing. So, heck, he could get a no-hitter at some point this year. He's pretty special. So, for me, pitching award, Rodon.
No argument there.
None. 0.
Yeah, no, I had Rodon too. I don't think you could have gone with one of the relievers that you guys mentioned, but I think that would just be really just shitting on a great outing from Rodon.
Yeah, he was marvelous. Incredible performance. So let's move on. Let's go with Aaron Boone. How about Aaron Boone out of 10, people? Tats.
I had a 7 out of 10. I don't think he did anything wrong. Could he have made a couple different substitutions? Maybe. But I think that the team was in line to win that series. It just didn't happen. I just think it was just execution from the players itself. Nothing at fault of the manager, but we lost the series. So I don't want to go too high. I think 7 is actually being very gracious.
Yeah, I went with a 7 as well. I think he made the right call going to his best player off the bench and in the last game, which was Bellinger. Maybe with the healthy Jazz, they have a chance to come back there. But one thing that we've been saying all season so far is that he hasn't done anything to cost us a game yet. So I can't really fault him for that. But we didn't win the series, so I can't be like, oh, here's a 10 out of 10. 7 out of 10, that's positive. It's above average. So I'll go right there at that number.
Yeah, it's hard to go much above 7 considering we lost the series, but Boone did absolutely nothing wrong. And you could actually argue that every move that he made was actually the right one. Trent Grisham leading off again helped us on our way to a 15-3 game. How about the fact that he was choosing right up into the last minute between Bellinger and Dominguez as to who should start in that middle game, which we won 15-3. He chose Bellinger, and it worked. Bellinger had a great game, 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs. And then, of course, there are the moves such as going with Yarbrough when we were in a tough spot. He ate a lot of innings. So you could actually argue that Aaron Boone had a very good series. So I can't fault him for the fact that 2 of his starters are some of the worst in the league. So, you know what? I'm giving him an 8. I'm giving him an 8. So Elliot agrees, 8. FJ says 6 for starting Reyes over Bellinger in the last game. To be fair, Bellinger's played a ton of games. I think I don't hate the fact he rested. And I gave him a 5. Stevie gave him a 4. So it's all over the shop. But I would be interested to know why the folk in the chat gave less than a 7, like for those reasons that we all gave. But you might be onto something. I might have forgotten something, but do give your thoughts in the chat. But while we do that, let's get to the next award, the Fun Award. We love this one. Well, certainly I do anyway. You're my boy, Blue. Yeah. You're my boy, Blue. You're my boy, Blue. Right. Who's your boy? My boy, Blue is Jalen Brunson. But no, for the Yankees, my boy, Blue is Peraza. It has to be Peraza. My boy is back. I miss you, Peraza. I love you so much, brother. You are an incredible fielder, and no one gives you any credit. But I do. I love you, brother. How about that play that he made at shortstop? He made one sensational play. So I was like, that is, oh my God, he's so good. It's insane. You are my boy, Peraza. I know you don't have much of a bat, but that glove more than makes up for it. So you're my boy, Peraza. Stevie B agrees with me. We're on the same wavelength, me, Stevie B. Rob, who's your boy?
Aaron fucking Judge. I mean, how can it be anybody else? I mean, I could give it to Volpe again. I thought he's been playing a lot better as of late. Again, ride the hot streak while it's there. But Aaron Judge is just on another planet. He's on another stratosphere. He's the best player in baseball, and he's finally putting to rest any conversation that there's somebody close to him in terms of the sport. Like, it's him, and then you figure out who number 2 is, and that's more of the conversation. And we got to thank ourselves every single day that Aaron Judge is a New York Yankee, because we're watching history, like, on the daily. And it's fun. It's just really fun watching the guy play. Again, when you get compared to Ted Williams, when you get compared to Bonds from 01, roids or no roids, right? Barry Bonds is one of the best players we've ever seen. All of us, everyone in this chat's been able to watch Bonds play. We all agree he didn't need to use them because he was scary without them. But Judge is doing it clean, and Judge is getting numbers comparable to what the home run leader is doing. That's pretty freaking impressive. Aaron Judge, that's my boy. I got the 9-9 on my back right now, and every single day I thank Aaron Judge for being I thank Hal Steinbrenner for making sure he stayed a New York Yankee, because we'd be nowhere without him.
Uncle Tats, who's your boy, Blue?
I have Rice for this one. I think that it's every game he plays, he kind of brings an element to it where you just see that he's that little leaguer that we all enjoy, that we all used to try to mimic what the big leaguers were doing, and he's doing it in the big leagues. And he always just seems to have at least one or two games in a series where he's just so much fun to watch. I think he has a great attitude, and he's just been tearing the cover off the ball. He's making the most of the opportunity given to him, and he's just been fun. So I went with Rice.
Yeah, FJ agrees with you with that one. Right, let's get to the next one. I think we're at the stage now where we start giving the L's. Who do you give the L to, Rob?
The fight, the unnecessary benches clearing, whatever the hell that was. I mean, the Orioles have cloned the same person like 6 times, and clone number 4 got mad because Pablo Reyes was apparently supposed to float. I don't know how you expect him not to land anywhere, but where he was going straight up for the ball to make sure it didn't go into the outfield, and then he got mad. Okay, but he kept going and going and going, and it was such an unnecessary. Even the umpire's like, all right, this is nuts. If you watch John Boy's breakdown, you can see the umpire's just like, there's just too many people, guys. Like, even the bullpens are like, they're like walking back, like, why did we come out for this? It was such an unnecessary scuffle on both sides. Anthony Volpe kind of like being the instigator, laughing at people. It's like it was such an unnecessary scuffle, and I don't know, man. To me, the whole thing was an L. It wasn't like there was any need for it. Once you realize Reyes had to jump and he had nowhere else to land, you really can't control yourself when you're about to come straight down on somebody. It was an unnecessary scuffle. There really wasn't a ton of L's besides the pitching, really, but that whole scuffle there was just complete unnecessary L.
Yeah, my L is obviously a battle between Cooked Carrasco and Will Warren. There's no way I can separate them. They all put in exactly the same stuff over 3 1/3 innings, and both of them were as bad as each other. I would say that Cooked Carrasco was probably just a little bit worse. So for me, the L goes to Cooked Carrasco. You were well and truly cooked, bro. You were like your grandmother's Thanksgiving turkey when she's fallen asleep for a morning nap, and the turkey's been in the oven for 6.5 hours. That is who Cooked Carrasco is. He is done. Honestly, put a fork in him, wrap him up and throw him out in the garbage. That dude is absolutely buns. If anyone else in the chat has a better superlative for what Cooked Carrasco is, then have at. It's open season. He is the L. He's the definition of L. Will Warren's there as well. I really don't like you, bro. Never have. Can't wait till I never have to see you again in this rotation because you are also buns. But really, Cooked Carrasco is on a slightly higher level of buns. So, Cookie the Cooked Carrasco, please go somewhere else other than Yankee Stadium. Go for a nice walk, and just don't come back. All right, just keep walking. Keep going a little farther, just a little farther. I never want to see you in this rotation again. You are ass. That's who I'm giving the L to. Uncle Tats.
I had Warren. Yeah, it could have been. Yeah, Warren is the one that I was saying earlier. I expected just a little improvement from him, especially as he got a couple starts under his belt. With this lineup, that he'd have a little more confidence in a game. There's just something he's just not getting it. And he's he had that. Yeah, I think he had like really one good start. Where he just looked like a guy that we could rely on. Warren has me really hoping that somebody comes, off the IL quicker than expected.
How can you do worse? They have to try other options, in my opinion. Like, how can you go worse than that? Dude, it's a freaking joke. So, anyway, it's now time for the best award. That's where the biggest bum of all time, Aaron Hicks. There he is. There is that pumpkin staring at the corner. Right. The Aaron Hicks Award, as I'm keeping that guy's face on the screen, the Aaron Hicks Award for me is the dude that gave up history. And I'm glad he did. Kyle Gibson. I mean, how can you do worse than Kyle Gibson in that start? He was so bad, he gave up 5 home runs. 5 home runs. 9 earned runs in 3 innings, 11 hits, and his ERA is sitting at 22 with almost a 4 whip, a 22 earned run average. I'm glad he did it, but that dude is horrible. And he gave up history. 5 home runs is absolutely ridiculous at any level. I don't think you'd see that in T-ball. That dude is freaking terrible, and I'm glad that he is. But for me, he is the MVP. MVP of how bad he is. He's the Aaron Hicks Award.
Yeah, mine went to Kierstadt. What did you expect Reyes to do? Like it was said before, it's supposed to just float above everybody until everybody's safely out of the way. You're picking a fight with the wrong. Don't pick a fight with any team with Aaron Judge on it. Because that's the last person you want charging at you anyway. But yeah, grow a set and stop being so sensitive. It's not always about you. So Kierstadt, you are this series Aaron Hicks.
I had Gibson as well. I don't know how it can go to anyone else. I mean, we didn't have great starts either from 2 of our guys, but I mean, our 9th inning offense wasn't great. But how do you not give it to anybody? I mean, I understand giving it to the clone from Baltimore, but Gibson was terrible. I mean, if that was one of our guys, we'd be in unanimous at the same time, all shouting his name. So that was one of the worst starts I've ever seen. And I think that was his first start of the year, actually, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, what a great start.
So, yeah, for that to be his first start coming back and that happens to him, he gives up history. Yeah, you're the Aaron Hicks of the series, my friend.
It's hilarious. How can you be that bad in your first start? Like, how is that even possible to be that bad?
It takes a lot of skill to be that bad.
Hilarious. Loved it. At one point, here's a hilarious stat to further prove how bad Kyle Gibson is. His first third of an inning. Do you know what his ERA was? I'm going to give it to pass it around. Rob, do you know what his stat line was and his ERA was after a third of an inning?
Well, considering we got him for 3 before he got an out. Okay. Yeah, it had to be like in the hundreds.
That's right. 108 ERA. Kyle Gibson had a
third of an inning.
Even higher, Sunil. 108 ERA after a third of an inning. That is that has to be a historical stat line beyond belief. So if that happened to the Yankees, there would be no need to ever have another Aaron Hicks Award. That would be that forever. Like, there would be no other awards for the rest of the year. So he was, and he is, as bad as I've ever seen. That might be one of the worst starts of all time. Well, in fact, it statistically is. So that's hilarious. Right, let's move on, guys. Don't we have a month award now?
Yes, we do. And we're going to lead it off with what we feel was our play of the month. And we will lead it off with Rob.
Well, I want to give you a shout out, Uncle Tats, because I'm calling it my highlight of the month. You predicted, if anyone forgot, that Austin Wells would hit a home run on the 3rd pitch of the season. And he did that. So my highlight of the first month, even though it took place in March, you count March and April together, basically, in baseball. That's my highlight. Uncle Tats scoring 1 for the Chronicles team and predicting Austin Wells was going to homer on the 3rd pitch. So I tip my cap to our captain of our show, Uncle T.
My award, well, it's actually like two-pronged. It goes to the two historic 4 home run innings. Just ridiculous. I mean, that's never happened before. Even when we had like prime A-Rod and freaking Gerard and freaking Giambi and Chef and the whole team, we still didn't do that before. So somehow this ragtag bunch is putting up 2 of the most historic games ever. A lot of it is thanks to Aaron Judge, but everyone else has stepped in too. Trent Grisham has been amazing. Ben Rice and Paul Goldschmidt. So for me, it's the two 4 home run innings from the Yankees. CBB says Judge almost hitting 4 home runs in a game. It's a good one. Uncle T.
Mine, and I was trying to go back and find the exact game, and I was not able to. But there was when Grisham subbed in for Dominguez, and then he made that phenomenal catch on the very next pitch. The first pitch of the inning. And right when they were making that switch in between the innings, I had tweeted out, that this was probably going to be Boone's most stupidest decision. And I was vastly proven wrong. And I thought that was the moment where we really gained trust in Grisham. And also it led to us having faith in Boone's decision making, because that is something he's had a lot of strength in. Good morning, Kyle. So it's, I thought that was one of those that was that one move where it was like, all right, you know what, Grisham is on something this year, and Boone may not be as much of an idiot as we thought.
Kyle loves you bunches, brother, and all you said was good morning. I think he deserves more than good morning. He just says he loves you bunches, brother. It's
one of those. If I stop talking, I'm going to forget exactly what I was going to say. But no, Kyle, appreciate you checking in on the Facebook feed. Also, everybody watching us on X as well. Appreciate you. Kyle, hop over onto the YouTube feed, hang out with all of us. All the great subscribers that you hear us interacting with. So the next award is going to be who we feel in April was the better prospect, and who we should be really keeping an eye on. And we will start this one with Donald.
Best prospect has to be Ben Rice. Has to be Rice, baby. For me, his numbers are crazy. Let's get Ben Rice's numbers up. Ben Rice is on an incredible scale here. Whatever he did in the offseason is working. How about 8 home runs and 13 RBIs? 8 home runs in the month is absolutely amazing. Batting average very high, 266, and a beautiful OPS of 958, where the average is about 7.5, 7.10. He's hitting 958. One of the for sure, he's the best prospect that I've seen so far for the Yankees. It's Ben Rice.
Rob?
Spencer Jones, killing it so far in Double-A. The strikeout rate's still right around where it was, but he does have 8 homers, 14 ribbies. He changed his stance up a little bit. He's trying to make a case to be the center fielder of the future for the New York Yankees still. And so far has a 167 weighted runs created plus out there in Double-A. So off to a hot start in Somerset. The potential future center fielder of the New York Yankees. So far, so good in April. So Spencer Jones, he came into the season on a mission, changed his stance up twice, and he's hitting the ball pretty damn well so far. OPS nearing 930. So hot start for the Yankees' top hitting prospect right now.
Question to you guys, because this the monthly awards is your baby. Is this meant to be like AAA prospect or prospects in the bigs as well?
Whichever you want.
Yeah,
Ben Rice is technically, in my mind,
yeah,
is still considered a prospect, even though he's been up for quite some time now. Going back to last year and now the first month of this year, but he's still one of the younger guys. So I just wanted to go with, I wanted to highlight someone in our minor league system because we don't get much of a chance to talk about the minor leagues here. So
that's true.
And Spencer Jones is off to a great start.
Yeah, I like it.
It's also a nice little teaser for any future shows. Hint, hint. That could be coming into play during the summer for our prospects. So, just keep an eye on that. So you can't just. It's forcing me to be to expand because I actually had to go back and watch a little footage, which is something I'm not usually a prospect watcher. But I did today. It did yesterday. I watched a little film, and my prospect award, it's something that we are talking about. And like I said, just keep your eyes open for the summer, and see what changes on our schedules. I went with Cam Schlitter. I thought he had a really good. I know I pronounced that wrong, didn't I, Rob?
Schlittler.
As soon as I'm like, no, wait, I pronounced that wrong.
We avoid calling him shitter at some point. It's
Schlittler.
There's
that's
extra L in there.
Very slow when I was trying to do that.
There is an extra L in there in case anyone needs to know. There is an extra L in Cam Schlittler's name.
Damn, all that film you watched, you didn't study.
It's the same thing with jazz. It doesn't matter how many times I say it. I'm going to screw up once in a while. But no, I thought he had a really good line. 27 innings pitched, 2.33 ERA. He's only given up one home run. He's got 6 walks, 29 strikeouts. I think he's looking really, really good, and somebody I'm really going to be keeping an eye on.
I'm very happy. I'm excited for him. What's up, Alex? He's a guy that, because of all the injuries to a lot of our prospects in the pitching side of things, like Hampton, Selvage, even Lalana, even though he's far off the grid right now, Schlittler's a guy that can really rise up quickly, and we need it because there's so many question marks with this rotation right now with injuries and struggling arms. So far, so good for Cam Schlittler. Schlittler. Say it with me. Schlittler.
No, because it could have easily been one of the go-to prospects that are always talked about. So I wanted to just go a little deeper, and he was somebody that his name's come up before, and I'm like, all right, let's just see really what his numbers are. So I was like, all right, you know what? That's actually really impressive to start a year off. So I was really happy to see those numbers. But we do want to thank everybody for hanging out with us today. Went into a little bit of extra innings with the monthly awards. We appreciate everybody hanging out with us.
Wait. We haven't done the big award. Isn't there a big award, like a certain award with the best player of the month?
You know what? Let's throw in an All Rise award.
Tattoo teased it.
Oh my God! This. Oh,
it's after an hour. You're
more cooked than Cookie Carrasco. Honestly, the new Aaron Hicks Award has been replaced. Kyle Gibson's 108 ERA has now been replaced by Uncle Tats, who's just stolen it from him at the very end. He snatched victory away. He snatched defeat away from the jaws of victory. Uncle Tats has been texting me for days about this monthly awards thing, and he blew it.
Yep. There were so many ideas thrown back and forth, but I did. All right. As far as I'm shot.
The All Rise Award for Player of the Month. Who was the best player of the month for the New York Yankees in the month of technically March and April? And I think we can all agree it goes to number 99, the captain of the New York Yankees. It's named after him for a reason. He gets the first one. Aaron Judge is my player of the month.
Juan Soto. No, if there's any, it's definitely Judge. How else do you have somebody not win that? There's no way around it.
If he had a normal month, then maybe you can give it to Max Fried. but this isn't normal. What he's doing is not normal.
No.
Yeah, how about the fact that he leads in every single category in baseball?
Yeah,
First in batting average, first in home runs, first in RBIs, first in OPS. He's first in everything. 1,200 OPS, 10 home runs, 32 RBIs, 4 of 27. 427. Guy's almost batting 500. His on-base percentage is also the best in the league. He is unstoppable. Aaron Judge is having one of the greatest seasons in the history of baseball. Alex says Goldie deserves an honorable mention. Yes, his stat line is freaking amazing. 356 batting average. Yeah, Aaron Judge is clearing it by almost 100 points. That's insane. Imagine batting 350 and then still getting lapped by like 80 points. That doesn't happen, especially not in the modern game. You could argue back in like the 50s and the 40s, maybe, or maybe in the 90s. But in the era where pitching dominates, by far, you have a guy, Goldschmidt batting 350 and Aaron Judge almost batting 500. That just doesn't happen. So incredible. Aaron Judge is definitely the player of the month. And yeah, I don't think there's too much of doubt about it.
Yep. And that is going to conclude the show. And before I further embarrass myself, we are going to sign off. Do appreciate everybody for hanging out with us throughout the week. Definitely today with all the awards and the extra innings for the monthly award. But with that, just make sure you hit that like button, hit that sub button, share this out, your friends, your family, the strangers on the corner. This has been the Pinstripe Chronicles. I'm Uncle Tats with Rob, Donald. And just remember, wear those pinstripes of pride and play hard.